Hari Om, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, verse 2. Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. In the last verse, Bhagwan Krishna said, I will again tell you the highest knowledge, Uttama knowledge, the knowledge of all the knowledges. By knowing this knowledge, sages have attained supreme perfection after this life. This is what Bhagwan Krishna said in verse 1. Now, verse 2. Idam jnanamupashritya mama sadharmyamagadaha sarge binopajayante pralayena vyadanti cha. In this verse, Bhagavan declares that by following or pursuing this knowledge, one attains my being or nature. They are neither born at the time of creation, nor they get dissolved or perished at the time of dissolution, pralaya. The study of this chapter is on gunas. At least that we know, that we are clear. The second thing which we are clear is gunas bind us to our egocentric way of living. Why I am selfish? Why I have this much ego? It is all because of my gunas. These two we are clear. Once we get released from gunas, then we will hatch that ego shell and live ever free as absolute self. These are the 3 points which we are clear. Now, on this verse, there are 3 views. First view is Swami Chinmayananda's view. Swami Chinmayananda says, the joys and sorrows of this life belong to one plane of consciousness. That is ego, egoistic life. Your joy or sorrow relates to egoistic life. They cannot stretch their arms to throttle us in another plane of consciousness. That is, once you move from one plane of consciousness to another plane of consciousness, that is, living as absolute self, then it will not affect. He gives the example of dream state to waking state. Suppose you have a horrible dream, unimaginable horrible things are there. With lot of fear you wake up. This happens in everybody's life. Suddenly you will be like falling from some place. Then you fall from the bed actually. Your wife will scold. Even at this age you are falling from like this. Next time onwards you keep pillows like a baby. That is what she will scold. But there in the dream you actually fell from the hilltop. Once you wake up, then the fear which was engulfing you during your dream is completely gone. Similarly, a seeker who has transcended his mind intellect equipment through meditation, he cannot again suffer the pains and pangs of this life. Having moved from ego state of living to state of living as self, he rediscovers himself to be the omnipresent reality which knows neither creation nor dissolution in its absolute state. Sargebi na upajayante. Swami Chinmayananda says, creation is the trick of mind. The tricks of the mind consist in projecting a world of creation, thought by thought. Very carefully we have to appreciate all these beautiful explanations. So he says the entire creation is a creation of the mind, a trick of the mind. It is created thought by thought. A person gets conditioned by his own imaginations. As long as one is under the control of mind, the person gets tossed about in his life. Once he transcends his mind, he realizes the self and its infinite nature. There is neither creation nor death. That is sargebi nopajayante pralayena vyadanti cha. In order to conquer the mind, one should know very clearly the tricks of the mind and how it hoodwinks him. That we need to understand. That is the crux of the matter. Swami Chinmayananda says, knowledge of the strategy of the enemies is an essential prerequisite to plan out attacks and defenses successfully. A thorough knowledge of the gunas will be helpful to everyone trying to master his own mind and reach the freedom from moral agitations and ethical imperfections. This is what he says. So when he says everything is creation, this creation is by because of the tricks of the mind. You have to control the mind. You have to understand the mind. Once you understand the mind and control the mind, you are moving from one plane of consciousness to another plane of consciousness, and hence there is no birth or no death for that realized person. That is what he says. Swami Dayananda Saraswati says, by resorting to or pursuing this knowledge, sages have discovered this Atma is non-separate from Parameshwara. That is, sages understood their essential identity with Ishvara is one and the same. That is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. This Purusha inside me, the Kshetranya inside me is nothing but Bhagwan Krishna himself. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Or you call it by any name, self, soul, Brahman. You call it by any name. So once you realize that I am not this body, I am Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. This is what you realize. Countless number of people who departed from this world are born again and again in different forms. We are all born. We have no option. Even if you don't, if you say, sir, please don't send me there, you will be born. Because we have a lot of pabas and punyas which we have to exhaust. That is why we are here. For those who realize that they are Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, at the time of creation, they do not come into being. Then the question is why? Swami Dayananda Saraswati says, they remain as Brahman, as there is no individual at all to assume any form. Naturally, at the time of dissolution, they are not destroyed. Swami Dayananda Saraswati says, when the unmanifest comes to manifest, everything that existed before Pralaya, Pralaya means dissolution, before Pralaya comes into being, except these sages who gained moksha. When the creation is destroyed, they are not destroyed because the whole creation resolves into them. Because they are realized souls. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Everything is the same consciousness. Atma, which is pervading the entire universe. They become one with the Atma. Therefore, having gained moksha, there is no possibility of returning from or losing it because it does not take place. It is not an event in time. That is what Swami Dayananda Saraswati says. It is not an event in time. Since it is jnana, it cannot be lost and its gain is only figurative. This is a view of Swami Dayananda Saraswati. There is a third view. Third view is naturally my stupid mind. It also slightly thinks. I am not thinking against what acharyas have said. I am only trying to find answers from the Bhagavad Gita itself, from what Krishna said, with greatest respect to the acharyas. This view is not different from them. Whatever they have said, I am only giving a slight, as I told you, my stupid mind is thinking. So I am giving this. So you take it or leave it. You can reject it also. Or you stop hearing my views also. That is also acceptable for me. I think this verse can be seen in the light of what is said by Bhagwan Krishna in chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga. In chapter 6, verse 37 and 38, Arjuna is asking a pertinent question to Bhagwan Krishna. Hare Krishna. When a man, even though with complete faith in whatever you say, he takes to meditation, but due to so many things, he is unable to control his mind. The mind wanders away from meditation. What is the end result for that person who failed to attain that perfection? That is the question he is saying. So he is neither here, neither he is enjoying this world, nor he is achieving success in the meditation. Will he not become a rent cloud? That is the question which Arjuna is asking. Bhagavan Krishna gives assurance to Arjuna in verses 40 onwards. It contains the assurance of Bhagavan Krishna. Krishna says, even if somebody has fallen from that practice, he will continue his journey from where he left in the next Janma. So he says either he will be born in the good family, a pious family, or in a family of sages, he will be born. And from there he will continue his journey. That is what Bhagavan Krishna said. Like we finish one verse of Bhagavad Gita every day. And on the death of that day and the birth of the new day, we get up and from sleep and continue with the next verse. Yesterday it was verse 1, today verse 2. I am continuing. It is not again verse 1, it is verse 2. Now taking that as basis, if somebody has gained this knowledge and realized himself as absolute self or attained self-perfection in this life, even assuming he is born, suppose let us assume he is born in the next Janma, he will be born only as absolute self. Because Bhagavan Krishna assures, death is nothing but a long sleep. After that you get up and then you continue your journey. This person has touched the highest peak, self-realization. Being a continuous journey, he will get up from where he left. That is, he has attained the realization. He will again be born as self only. Even if he dies, being a realized soul, he will know that only body dies and not the self. In this view also, there is no birth or death for him. He is not born again. That is what Bhagavan says is Sargebi nopajayante pralayena vyatanti cha. He is not born again means he is not born again as an egocentric, selfish person. And he has no death means his realization has no death. There is no death of the self and birth of a body for this realized soul. He remains ever the absolute self. Otherwise, how can we account for the birth of many great sages like Vyasa, Vashishta and others? So, I wanted to give this point. This is a point I am only trying to think. So, if it is not acceptable, please forgive me. That's what I can say. Again, verse 2. Idam jnanamupashritya mama sadharmyamagadaha sarge vinopajayante pralayena vyadanti cha. Next verse we will see tomorrow. Harihom Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. Narayana 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 Narayana.